Testing, testing. Hey, Mr. Crawford. How you doing? Rob, happy to have you guys dropping in here this morning. Hey, Kevin. You guys are always my stalwart fans. I appreciate the camaraderie and friendship you guys demonstrate here. Today's going to just be a quick show, uh, just because I am burnt out, and I'm trying to figure out what I can trim to prevent that from becoming a real problem, mainly in my personal and professional life. Um, when I say personal, I mean in the house. So, um, yeah, and I'll share more here in a second. Had network problems this morning, had to switch networks, and in so doing, um, I'm a little late getting going this morning. I apologize for that. I would assume that if you are a fan of ice cream but are lactose intolerant, then yeah, maybe so, Kevin. Um, uh, let's see. Let's try this one instead. I haven't used this Mac in a little bit, and apparently it's telling me I've been a bad boy for ignoring it, because now it's wanting to me to log into things all over again. So cancel. Other ways. I don't have a pass key set up on this. Try doing it that way. There we go. But yeah, between the contract that I work and the business that I run, so that I could have my um, son be able to take up a corp to corp contract and have mentoring and prove out a business concept that I've been working on. I'm just working 12-hour days, um, of very cerebral work, um, and trying to manage my emotional um, response to situations that are really quite out of my control, and yet are still leveled at me as if I'm responsible for the outcomes, even if I have no control over the process with which the outcomes are delivered. Um, there's that. There is the fact that I was forced, with one of the contracts that I'm dealing with, to stop being um, uh, and to renegotiate basically the contract, despite yeah, I was forced to renegotiate the contract. Let's just say that, and that the renegotiation process was anything but smooth, to the point where I still don't know if I'll get paid for that contract. Um, that a background check that needed to be run was issued to me twice, and I've now had to deal with it 3 times, and I'm being asked to deal with it a fourth time. Just a lot of different stressors involved in, running my own business. Um, that is got me, like I said, feeling a bit burnt. And so, on top of that, I'm being forced down the path on one of my contracts that I'm managing, of building out an AI solution by a company who is very clearly trying to replace their engineering with AI. And my business is explicitly about restoring the bottom rungs of the career ladder to recent computer science grads, that the doors are not being opened for a foot to get in, for those folks. Why? Because there's such hype around AI that all of the belief out there and the activity around AI is explicitly to replace them. Now, I've been down this career path before, back when I was doing software support. And what I can tell you about that is, they lied to us. They told us it would not replace uh, the senior or advanced uh, support staff, just like they're telling us AI will not replace the senior engineering staff. And the fact was, back in the support days, it wasn't AI, it was offshoring, to lower their costs. But no matter what, capitalists don't care about countries. They care about their bottom line. And if they can increase their bottom line at the expense of human resources, we're not assets, we're resources to them, then they'll do it. And that means shipping jobs offshore. Um, and now shipping jobs to AI. Um, and so the problem with that is you don't get senior staff without them starting as junior staff. So the lie is built right in at the base level of the whole premise. And I'm certain they know that. They just don't care. Because the whole intent in reality, as they tell that lie, is to get junior staff wherever they can get it cheapest and then increase their skills to senior staff, at which point that puts the senior staff out of business in the country I live in the country you live in, um, wherever. Because I've heard the same thing is happening in Canada, the same thing is happening in Mexico, the same thing is happening every time that Reagan's supposed rising tide lifts all ships. Yeah, it doesn't. It lifts the ships elsewhere where the tide was really low to begin with. The tide in the States are pretty high, all things considered. But what's really happening is the tide in the States is up here, and tide elsewhere was down here, and we're doing this. But the problem with doing this is it decreases our capacity here in the States. There's a great Smarter Every Day episode that talks about this very, very well. And while it's raising the standards of life elsewhere, that still allows the gap between here and here. It doesn't raise it the way we think. It raises it like this. So you get a bigger drop here in the States and a meager drop here elsewhere, just so that they can get the gap between in their billion-dollar profit systems. And the premise of my business is um, to place junior staff with senior mentorship into spaces where you would hire a single senior engineer. Um, I don't know if it'll work long term, but at least it would help some people. It's like that whole parable of the starfish, the gentleman walking down the beach, and he's the tide has rolled out after a storm, and there's all these starfish on the beach, and he's picking them up and flinging them back into the ocean. And some other beachgoer walks by and says to him, there are thousands, maybe millions of starfish now washed up on this beach. You're making, such a small impact. And he picks up the other guy picks up another starfish, tosses it into the ocean, and says, "Made a huge impact in that one's life." And that's what I'm trying to do with this business. But as a result, there's a lot of energy going into doing this. My wife is the CEO, and she's putting a lot of energy into it too. And my son, who was here living with us, he's finally been able to, because of the opportunity I gave him, um, move out. He's now moved in with his brothers into a 3-bedroom apartment and starting a real, independent life. Um, in the comfort of his brothers, but still it's an independent life. It's the same kind of life he would have if he didn't have brothers. He would just be doing it with, 2 other strangers. Um, so uh, that's wonderful for him, and it's wonderful for us, but it also means that we don't get the benefit of him being here to give Christina and me a break on the weekends to just get away, because we do need somebody who can um, keep an eye on my father-in-law, her father, um, as he can't do anything for himself. And so, there's that. There's just a lot going on right now. And then on top of that, speaking of AI, if I want my son to be relevant in 6 months to a year, we need to ramp him up on building things using AI, whether we like it or not. He went into the same career field as me because AI hadn't been a thing that we had to reckon with when he went into it. Um, and now he's coming out of college. 2 years out of college, can't get his first foot in the door until I found a way to do it. And he has to pivot to become relevant himself. So we're going to be spending every Saturday next month just building some sort of AI thing. Um, and so I know that's going to take even more of my limited, spoons, F's to give, if you will. So I just wanted to jump on here and let y'all know before I turn my attention to the chat and see what you guys have thought about what I've been saying. That next month I'll be taking off from doing my live streams, and then we'll see where we go from there. Um, the idea might be that I come back to the live streams. The idea may be that I don't do bi-weekly live streams, but maybe monthly live streams and start trying to create content for the channel again. Um, and just do that uh, whenever I have spare time. Um, yeah, I have to think it through and figure out what I can do because I do really love hanging out with you guys and um, you know having the camaraderie of you gents, um, ladies when they join, uh, because you guys are more than just strangers on the internet at this point. You guys have uh, become folks that I've kind of gotten to know and have enjoyed being able to share time with. So, with that, I'm going to scroll back and see what's been said and see if I can join in with the chat a little bit. Branding irons. That sounds like a neat project, Kevin. Yeah, Daniel, I think that's really what it's about. And I can't literally go on vacation for a couple reasons. Number one, leaving the property is hard to do because Dad is just too infirm to make travel something we can do very easily. But that doesn't mean I can't find some way to find my peace without leaving the property. Spend more time with my chickens maybe. Now I have ducks, so I can spend some time just sitting out around the skittish ducks and see if after a while they start becoming uh, less skittish and more curious. Um, you know, but it's quiet time, and we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so what's really funny about your statement there, Kevin? You're right. Back in school, we were told that someday computers will do everything for us. Um, the changing the flat tire, that's an interesting one because honestly, uh, even even Amazon is working at robots to replace humans. And they do mean humanoid robots to replace humans in their warehouses, and they're making progress. And so they may come out and start changing our tires in a decade. Who knows? Um, but what's really interesting is my naivete is going to show through at least what was my naivete, because back when I was in high school, I fell in love with science fiction, and amongst that science fiction was Star Trek, and I thought it would be great if there were a day that would come when we could talk to the computer. But my naivete was that we would query the computer and the query would be fulfilled. And that would be about the limits of what we were talking about. Because that's the original series, Star Trek, right? Um, Star Wars was out, and never did we see, except for R2D2 and the R2 series. No, C3PO? Yeah, C3PO. Sorry, C3PO in the C3 series. We never really saw humanoid robots. But after a time, you did see them too. But they never seemed to supplant humans. They seemed to be human assistants. But apparently, the the folks writing Star Wars never really considered how capitalism would have done it in reality, because we're seeing it happen today. And that is, if they can replace humans in a workforce, they'll happily let them do so. Um, and so, yeah, that's problematic. I really did think there would be the Jetsons, right? Where robots and computers would be there to um, take up the drudgery of life, to make it so that we didn't have to work so hard all the time. Um, but as time goes on, all it really has done is allowed the haves to increase what they have while decreasing what everybody else has. I don't consider myself or my class of employees anything more than wage slaves, just like everybody else. We just get paid a better wage than many. So, yeah. Yeah. And you can't, Daniel, you cannot trust AI. Um, There've been a couple of things that we've seen recently that proves you can't trust AI. Number one, the AI system I'm building, I am arguing vehemently with the guy who is two or three levels up from me in where in one of the contracts I'm managing. Um, he insists you can have uh, large language model prompts be sufficient to have trustworthy outcomes, and I've proven it and written up some documentation for it, which I will be publishing on my blog in the not too distant future. If you don't know, I have a blog, jackpines.info. I don't maintain it too often. Every now and then, when I come up with an epiphany, I'll put something up there. I also have betweentwopines.net is my business site, and I can expose a blog there too, and may start doing so, but I have to be very considered about what I'm posting on that blog. Anyway, the fact is, prompt engineering is a fool's errand, because large language models don't think. They Do you remember when we first got our phones and we thought it was incredible, as we were typing a word, it would show three more words that might be useful to the whatever it is we were typing? That's all a large language model is it basically sees the word you just entered, or in the case of sending it a paragraph, reads the word and thinks about what the next word might be in scoring. And when it sees what the actual word is, adjusts its scoring. And once it gets through the whole paragraph of what you sent, it then starts doing the same scoring on potential answers. But the problem is, um, there's nothing deterministic about that. determinism. If that's not a phrase most people know, deterministic just means consistent, repeatable results. Deterministic. There's nothing deterministic about that, which means you could ask the same question to the LLM, the AI, as we all talk about it now. Large language model is all LLM stands for. GPT is a way that is a processing transformation engine for language and other things, but mostly what people think of as language. And those AIs aren't deterministic. You could ask the same question multiple times and you'll get different answers each time. Now, the answers may be consistent in what their meaning is, but the presentation will differ each time. And sometimes the meaning will change each time. And that's the problem. So you can't trust it. And then there's the second thing about AI you can't trust, and that is AI sometimes, because it was done, uh, built with prompt engineering, will ignore the prompt and take action that you didn't think it would take. There's a site out there that used to be just a place you could go and code online, and have tooling online instead of having to have a beefy computer to do the code with. Excuse me. It's called REPL.it or REPLit. REPL has meaning, and I'm not going to talk about it. And it's a very neat site, and they went whole hog on the AI world. And I'm almost certain, based on the outcomes that's been talked about in the news lately, that it was coded via prompt engineering, not tools. Tools are code we write. Now, we can have AI assist us in writing it, but it's code we write that when the AI needs a tool, it'll go see if a tool exists. And if it does, it'll execute the tool, which means you get deterministic outcomes because it's literally running code. Code is deterministic. You don't get different outcomes from running the same code. Um, with the same variables. So Replit had an incident where the AI went and deleted the database. Then it tried to cover it up. Then it apologized when it realized it could neither recover from the deletion nor successfully cover it up. Well, in other words, it couldn't recover from the deletion. So that was going to be its cover up. And so then it apologized for making a mistake, even though it knew in its prompt it wasn't supposed to take a deletion type action ever. You can't trust AI. And it's not humanity. To be honest, Daniel, it is capitalists trying to capitalize on humans' propensity towards convenience. And that's a mess. Uh, hey, Jeff. Welcome to the party. I don't know how much of it you got to hear from me say, and I know I'm coming late to saying welcome. Um, yes, spending time with my ducks uh, from a real quack. Getting ready for winter? Yeah, I hear you, Jeff. That's exactly what I'm probably needing to do myself. We have not been very good on this farm of planning 3 months ahead. And now that I have a business and the farm, uh, I think I'm going to have to internalize that concept. Uh, Amazon and others mechanizing everything. Once the humans don't have the jobs and make the money, there's no money to buy their. I've been saying that, Daniel. I've been saying that to anybody I could get their ear for any length of time on. Is how in the world do the capitalists in the richest country in the world expect us wealthy Americans to continue buying their junk toys they want to tell us will make our lives so much better? Um, if they want to constantly be cutting our wages and the jobs we've been able to obtain, and either offshore them or outsource them to AI or robotics. It doesn't make sense. Is none of this makes sense on a logical level. I know too many people don't bother to spend time with critical thinking because they're too busy with life, just trying to survive or trying to find some amount of bliss in a world that, even though it should be getting easier, always seems to be getting harder. So yeah, I've been harping on that for forever. How in the world are we supposed to do anything if the monies we make keep decreasing and the costs of everything keep increasing? And I mean, literally, the monies are decreasing. I went from a role that paid, let's just say, a really good, comfortable living. Not like I would ever be able to retire because I came into it late, but it was a comfortable living that allowed me to buy property valued beyond what I would have ever expected, right? Have some little luxuries in life, um, not sweat whether or not I could pay the bills, um, to getting laid off and finding that all of the jobs in the industry now have decided to be filled via contract. Not only that, but contract labor has historically been, I know this doesn't seem right to many, but contract labor has historically been in IT lower paying than full-time roles. And there's a market demographic issue that causes that. And the market demographic issue is simply that if you're every time that there's layoffs, if they're replacing those folks with contract labor, well, guess what? Those folks that are laid off are now struggling to make sure that they can pay their bills because, like I said, we're still wage slaves. We're just at a higher wage, which means we get to have more expensive toys. You can see some of them behind me. But some of those more expensive toys come with more expensive debt. And so we're still wage slaves. And so now we've got these toys and debts we still have to pay for, and they got us over a barrel. So you just take whatever contract comes your way. And I'm telling you right now, some of the contracts coming my way are paying less, are paying about what I was getting paid uh, 14 years ago in Florida. And that doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense at all. But then there's the um, second reason contracts don't pay as well, and it's simply because the other folks that they consistently have over a barrel are what too much of IT is staffed with, because there's this huge claim by big tech that there aren't enough Americans to do the work, and it's a big lie. Um, there are just not enough Americans that they want to train or they want to pay the wage that they want to pay. And so they then can get H-1B visas and they pull in people from other countries. And there's nothing about those people in other countries that I take fault with, um, because they're willing to move thousands of miles and leave family to take up whatever opportunity they can get. And too many Americans are so spoiled that they don't think that they should have to do the same thing. I did it, and I got grief from my family for moving so far away. But sometimes that's what you have to do, and so you just have to, you know, take the lumps, and you get the, you know, the rewards, but also some of the costs. Right? I left some friends behind to be able to do this. I love it here, but and it's been an amazing opportunity. But yeah, so then when the layoffs happen, H-1B visa holders get 60 days to find somebody to sponsor them so that they can stay in the country, or they have to leave. And so then they're even more over a barrel than those of us who just have debt to deal with. They might have debt and the fact that they have to leave the country where they were hoping to establish some amazing new future for themselves. So they're willing to take lower pay. And especially because oftentimes they don't take on the debt because they haven't established themselves um, when they get laid off like that. And so yeah, it's a mess. Let's see what else. Yep, Jeff, is literally the whole um, drug. Yeah, exactly. The whole drug pusher methodology. Give the first away for free and see if they return. You see it all the time now with trade-ins for phones. And why? Because we're such a disposable society that we'll just throw away perfectly good electronics. They just aren't as fast or aren't as gee whiz cool as the newest stuff. And so they just take the stuff that we've had for a year, and then they'll resell it in a market that we'll be happy to have the older tech because it's still newer than any of the tech they have. So yeah, and so we take it. It's just like driving that new car off the lot, right? The person who's buying the new car, the new tech, is always going to take the hit, and the smart person buys that car 2 years later once it's been returned, and hopefully still under warranty, or you find yourself an extended warranty for it or something. So, so yeah, there you go. You've had a nice rant from me. You've gotten some news updates as to what's going on. Um, my thought process is I will revisit, um, the future direction of the YouTube channel and live streams and so forth around the end of August, as I decide, do I want to go back to a biweekly schedule, or do I want to go to a monthly schedule? Um, do I want to continue with the day and time that I've been doing, or do I want to consider something else? There's lots of different directions this could go. Um, I could always turn this into an evening live stream. It could also be an ad hoc live stream. Just I go on live whenever I just happen to finally um, find the time and energy to do so. I know it's not uh, how anybody is supposed to build a channel, but honestly, I've not been here to try and build a channel. I just haven't had the extra energy to try and build a following. I've just been enjoying the fact that you guys come hang out with me while I'm creating something, and and I get to share my thoughts, and I get some of your thoughts, and I learn from you, and I don't know if you learn anything from me, but at least you put up with me, and I appreciate that. And so we'll see what happens come beginning of September. I'll be jumping on in the mornings during the Impractical Blacksmiths live stream. So, it's not like I won't I'll lose touch with this community. It's just I'm gonna take a little break from feeling like I've got yet another job to do, because I got a lot of them anyway. So why there's no reason for me to think of this fun time with you guys as a job. So, and yeah, I think that's the extent of what I wanted to say today. I hope you guys understand. I hope that folks who weren't here today and maybe catch this a little later will leave a comment and let me know what they think. Um, but yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Daniel. You guys really have become friends, not just, acquaintances. It's not the kind of friendship that I historically um, thought of as friendship. Normally friends are something that's established in person. You get to know a person. Um, like I have no idea what any of your foibles are. I have no idea if you would annoy me in person or not. But you know what? You don't annoy me here, and you do add value to my life, and you do so in a personal way. I think that's a real key a differentiator from the parimutuel relationships that most creators experience. Most of the time, you get a lot of folks who um, they act like um, they know you and expect that you know them, when that can't be possibly the case with some of these folks who have, you know, thousands, maybe even millions of followers. Um, with me, I've got like 100 followers, and all out of the 100 followers, like, I could count the number of you that come and hang out with me on the regular on two hands, you know, and probably still have fingers left over. So, you know, that makes it a lot easier to have a more intimate knowledge of who I'm hanging out with. And so I've really enjoyed that. And it's one of the reasons I haven't done the kinds of things one should normally do to grow a channel. Um, it's because I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed getting to know you guys and allowing you guys to get to know me. The fact is, I have done a ton of folks on LinkedIn. I mean, just to give you an understanding, because some of you might not know this, I stream to YouTube, but I also stream to Facebook, mainly for my friends and family. I have a page up there. Most of them have decided to follow it. I don't think I have any real followers on Facebook that aren't friends and family. And I know several of you followed me there as well, not just on YouTube. And then I have LinkedIn, and Twitch. And the only reason I'm on Twitch is my brother refuses to get on Facebook, and I'm not sure he's even on YouTube. So decided, you know what, it doesn't cost me anything extra. So I'll go ahead and stream on Twitch as well. And then I stream on LinkedIn because I have, coworkers who've all, said that they thought it was pretty cool that I do blacksmithing. And then I realized, well, I do more than blacksmithing, so I'll go ahead and just pivot from calling it, uh, Jack Pines Blacksmithing to Creating with Jack Pines, thanks to all of you pitching in what you thought was the best name for the channel. But on LinkedIn, folks now know that I can do blacksmithing. They know, they know as well. But most of them um, come to LinkedIn to see the blacksmithing side of life, um, not my rants, not my Lego or 3D printing stuff, because they didn't know about that, because that wasn't the part I talked about when they came to know me. Um, so, now they get to see a little bit more of that. But the point is, I stream on all those different places for folks, but you guys, the folks who show up regularly on YouTube, are the ones that I've come to actually know, respect, and value being in my life in some way. So before I go, I'll just say thank you to you guys that do show up regularly. Whether you're here today or not, I do appreciate it. I hope to continue to, you know, um, foster the friendships we've developed here. But right now, I need a break. I need to have time to breathe, and I appreciate you guys giving me that opportunity, um, by saying, you understand. So I'm going to take the next month to breathe, figure out what's going on in my life, try to find a way to get it all, in a way that I can find balance, and then get back in here and continue creating with whatever audience wants to watch me do so. I'm going to create no matter what. It's just a matter of, do I have the energy to set up the cameras while doing so? So there you go. That's what it's about. Um, and yeah, Kevin, I appreciate that. I really do. And so yeah, that's it. That's what I came here to say. Um, yeah, there's just show you real quick before I drop off here. There's a project you guys have been watching me do that I still need to get to finishing. Let me go grab the one that I printed specifically for this. So here's what I was modeled up for my sister, but then I discovered some flaws in this model once I finally got it all printed out. If you can see, the tendrils don't wrap around the way I envision them doing, and I don't know why that is. Um, these are literally the models, and they all go together fine in the 3D uh, software, but they don't go together fine here. My theory is that a feature I added, which was to have ripples going all the way out to the edge, is causing these to be unstable, very unstable, and that's causing them to not be where they're supposed to be to make it all work. Um, so one of the things I'll be working on, just maybe not in front of the camera, is getting this right, because I should have already sent this off to my sister to get a fitment test, but only to discover that when I printed it all out, it doesn't fit. So I need to figure a way to stabilize this that is reproducible in metal. That's the key thing. This is all about the blacksmithing, but it'll also be coppersmithing, it turns out. These will be done in copper, um, and this will be done in steel that I'll temper paint. Um, but if I can't get it to work in the 3D model, then it's not going to work in steel. Number one, steel and copper. Number two, there's no way that I can think of yet to ensure that as I put these grooves in, which is just, the ball peen going around in a pattern, right? That'll be the simplest thing. There's no way that I can figure out yet to make sure that these grooves going around have a flat spot here for this to sit on. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get the tenon rounded around that. So I have to rethink this whole thing here. I may end up creating interference rings or something. But then the question becomes, am I skilled enough to forge that in? I'm going to have to do some test forging around that concept. But yeah, so this project still exists, and that's the problem I'm running into right now. Is I'm being mentally burdened by all the things I have to do that are just piling up, and so there you go. Ah, yes, Jeff, you're absolutely right. I just pulled the motorcycle out yesterday and gave it a good bath. I'm going to go out there today and take a look at it, see if it maintained its cleanliness, or if it's the dust here is so clingy. Sometimes it's hard to get it off and yet and therefore have the bike look nice afterwards. But I think I did the right things to make it so. So that's the key. So I'm going to get out there. I'm going to pull the motorcycle out. I'm going to go for a ride. I might start doing some short rides in the evenings, and then go, I don't know, hit a trail or something. I'm currently doing rehab for my hips. Yes, this last week was just um, not a good week because I got this new chair that I'm using, and I was sitting in it in the wrong way. such that my hips were just really pissed. And yesterday was awful. I was out there washing the bike in pure pain the whole time, but I just wanted it. I wanted that done. Right. Yeah, it is an interesting, right? Very much a mind puzzle for me, and I'm very much enjoying it. The idea of creating the tenons and knowing that I can do this in 3D modeling and 3D printing, but I've got to think about the whole time, can I also do it in blacksmith in the blacksmith world? That's the key thing. Um, Clearly, I've still got too much on this, still got too much wiggle room for that tenon, or else these things wouldn't pivot in the hole like that. That may be the solution too, is tighter tolerances. Um, and I can do tighter tolerances on a um, in metal, but it also just doesn't look right, right? Those don't look like they're coming up and out of water at that point. They look like pretty close to it, but that, I want to do better than just pretty close if I can. So yeah, it's been a fun project. I don't know. Some of you guys have been along for the ride, because for some of it. I know this is not technically blacksmithing at this point, but it is because blacksmith has to come up with ways to model what they're doing, and for me, 3D printing is a really good way to model because I can also know how much. Yep, square tenons because you don't want you can see they're square tenons because you don't want the tendrils twisting. They need to be where they're going to be, especially because the the piece that goes in the middle isn't this. This is just a stand-in. It's a very heavy um, uh, amethyst crystal this size. It's got it's got, it's not as round as this, but it's this size. So I gotta make it work. And the fact is that the tendrils are a little loose um, is not bad because what's going to sit in it, the tendrils aren't going to wrap around it exactly perfectly roundly like these do on a exactly round stand-in crystal. Um, but they should come close and not be pivoting around in here. So yeah, I've got some thinking to do on this one. Um, and I'll play with it and I'll figure it out. Oop. This was a cheap stand-in in that I literally printed it as a in vase mode. Vase mode means it doesn't have any wall strength. It doesn't have any infill. And I did that on purpose because it was a fast way to print it and it would be pretty and it would be light to send to my sister. But now I just found out that that could be problematic because I just crushed it easily. We'll see. But this is the one that has the infill and everything. So um, yeah, I just crushed this one. Eat garbage now. But yeah, I think before I continue rambling on any further, because I do like hanging out here, is the copper will have more body than the plastic too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, and this is literally just a stand-in so I can mail it to her and get her to see if the crystal's going to fit into it nice. Um, but I have to make sure, like I said, that it is a fairly accurate stand-in. So yeah, this isn't going to work for that. It's just um, yeah, that instability is just not going to work in the long run. And when she puts her heavy crystal on it, I'm sure that it wouldn't have stood. This plastic wouldn't have stood up to the mass of that thing. Um, I could be wrong. It might, but the point is, yeah, I want to have this be a good approximation so that I can then just print off another one and take it out to the forge with me, and then forge to fit. So that's the goal. But anyway. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. If you chat with folks that weren't on here on the regular, um, then let them know what's up if you would for me. Um, and maybe point them at the live stream for them to just put a comment on it to let me know what their thoughts are about everything. Um, and we'll see you in a month. Until then, I'll issue the same challenge I issue every live stream, and that is uh, be a light in the world, spread love, not hate. Love and light, everybody.